Welcome back to Giggles and Gains. What episode is this? Number 4? 4. And look, I got a new microphone. David just planted this thing here and said, use this today. No, I'm joking. I think some of the sound cut out a little bit on the last episode, so we wanted to minimise that happening again. But yeah, welcome back to Giggles and Gains. I hope you're all good. And I just want to say an absolutely massive thank you to everybody who sends me questions, everybody who sends me feedback, everybody who actually listens and subscribes. Honestly, it absolutely means the world. And obviously I will keep doing this in the hope that I can impact and help anybody in any sort of way. So in this episode, what I wanted to talk about was more about my journey from bodybuilding to powerlifting. A lot of you guys actually messaged me and said that one of the things you'd like me to talk about in more detail was that journey through bodybuilding into powerlifting. Before I do that, I'm going to answer a few questions like always, and then I'm going to kick into talking through like my journey, my experience. All of the things I talk about are literally my opinions. Like, a lot's changed since I bodybuilded 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure. And my experience is going to be totally different to somebody else's. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to kick off with a few questions that I absolutely really loved. So Artie messaged me and said, what was your proudest moment as a lifestyle coach? I think my proudest moment in the last year is when I got the guys together recently and asked them to do testimonials. They were epic. And I think one of the biggest things I am proud of about what I do isn't just about transforming people's lives, bodies, mindsets, habits. It's bringing these people together and giving them a friendship circle. It's giving them a community. It's giving people who maybe a little bit lost on their journey going into health and fitness, friends around them. That has got to be my biggest win. Like bringing like-minded people together and sharing an experience. I absolutely love it. The next question he asked as well was, what fulfills me and satisfies me most about what I do? Oh my God. Like when I read my check-in forms on a Monday, or my clients text me, or they hit a PB, or they celebrate a win, that fully fulfills me. Like there is no better feeling than speaking to somebody initially on a discovery call and finding out what they're struggling with and where they want to get to, and then taking them on this journey. And it's never the goal that's the biggest win. It's all of the things that they do along the way that make the journey so special. Like taking somebody who wanted to lose some body fat and get stronger, to then losing the body fat, to then squatting their body weight, benching like 40 odd kilos, deadlifting 100 kilos, them having more confidence, them going for job interviews because they now feel like they have the confidence to do that sort of thing. Coaching people through things that you just would not even expect pop up, like conversations with some of my clients about their relationships, about like doing things that align to their goals. So like an example recently was somebody said to me the other day that they're like totally burnt out. They've got all these social activities going on this weekend. And I just said to her, I was like, what are the things that you need to prioritize and put boundaries in place with, and be kind to yourself and make sure you put a boundary in place to protect you. And it's those sorts of conversations that really fulfill me. Okay, so I'm going to actually answer one of my next questions, which is from Bobby. And it was, how do you train for a bodybuilding, I couldn't spit words out then, a bodybuilding competition? And I'm going to like kickstart my journey back like 10 years ago and take you through my experience with bodybuilding. So for anybody who doesn't know, bodybuilding is where you get in the best shape of your life, opinion based. You get shredded, absolutely lean as possible, really low body fat percentage, and you paint yourself bright orange and you stand on stage and pose. And you have to do a little dance routine. Well, it's meant to be a posing routine. It's got slightly more provocative as we go, but you do a little dance routine. So that is bodybuilding. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And taking that right back, you've got to remember, I don't know if you remember from episode 1, like I'm quite competitive. I like to do competitions. I like to test myself. So I thought when I was 14.5 stone, felt super overweight, I thought, this girl in the gym who really inspires me. I'm going to ask her what she does. And she told me what she was doing, and she was prepping for bodybuilding shows. So I started off in the gym, just literally bumbling around the gym, going a few times a week, getting to the point where I was starting to see like some sort of progress, but not a lot really. And I build muscle quite quickly, as we established today, trying to squat in my squat suit. It was really tight and very painful. I build muscle super quickly. I'm one of those body types. I equally put fat on very quickly as well. And so I was building muscle. I was just feeling like I was getting chunkier and chunkier and chunkier. So obviously, when I started bodybuilding, I got myself a bodybuilding prep coach. His name was Brandon. He was ace. He was very old school bodybuilder. Old school bodybuilder basically means you are eating oats for breakfast with egg whites and some protein powder. Your second meal of the day is chicken, some sort of green vegetables and rice. Your third meal of the day is chicken, some sort of green vegetables and sweet potato. Your fourth meal of the day, if you're lucky, is 2 rice cakes and some peanut butter. And your fifth meal of the day is, can you guess? Chicken, some sort of green vegetables and rice, sweet potato or potato. And that was my life. So when I started bodybuilding, I had this idea that I wanted to lose weight. Okay, like I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to try this thing that I'd never heard of before, get on stage, pose around in a bikini. And yeah, I'll see if we can actually put some pictures of my very first bodybuilding photos. They were hilarious into the pod so you can see. My posing was shocking. It was shocking. I couldn't even tell you. My first ever competition, I managed to get onto the stage, and I mean, I don't think I should have been there. I think somebody should have intervened and told me I needed to lose a little bit more weight. But at that point, I'd lost 5 stone in the space of like 8 months to get ready to go on stage. So I was super, super proud of myself. But obviously I didn't really look like a bodybuilder. I'd only been in the gym a couple of years. I didn't really have much muscle mass. I really, really suffered with kind of like the cheat day, which I've spoken about before. So when I bodybuilded, I got given this like cheat day, this 1 day a week where you're allowed to eat what you wanted. Well, meant to be what you wanted, but it probably shouldn't have been as much as I was eating. So I would have like my normal breakfast, have my day off from the gym, we'd probably go to the cinema, I'd gorge a whole large popcorn, I'd then come home, we'd have some extravagant dinner, I'd make a cake, I'd eat all of that, I'd have some ice cream, we had some sweets, and then I felt like shit. Like absolute shit. Guilt, uncomfortable. I mean, I figured out if I laid on my side, I could fit more food in. That is disgusting, but that is the mindset that I got into. So we did the first show. It was a little local show. And I said to my other half at the time, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do another one of these for a while. Blah, blah, blah. Got back into the gym, and then it started again. I was like, no, I want to get into better shape. I want to look better. I want to build some muscle. So off I went again. Same sort of thing. Got a different coach this time. I'll be really honest with you. This coach turned around and had a conversation with me about if I was going to be tested and untested. And that is a really common thing in both powerlifting and bodybuilding. But I was probably 22, 23 years old, had no idea about steroids. And I was like, no, I'm going to be natural. But it was so bizarre looking back that was such a normal question to ask. Like, so when I think about young girls now who are looking at getting into bodybuilding, and like the top, some, I'm not everybody, some of the top females, they look phenomenal. How on earth they get their bodies in such good shape is so inspiring, so inspiring. But then there's the other half of them that are taking performance enhancing drugs, which is totally fine. That's up to them what they do. But if you're a natural athlete and you're competing in an untested federation, it's going to take a hell of a lot of work and commitment to get to the same level as somebody who is untested. My second competition, the relationship with myself got so much worse. It was, let's talk about the training plan. That was one of the questions I've been asked. What is the training plan like? It was an hour in the morning on the Stairmaster. It was an hour in the evening on the Stairmaster. And it was an hour weight session 5-6 times a week. That was the thing. That was literally the thing. It was consistently that, day in, day out, with those similar sort of meals that I spoke about earlier. The training program was exhausting. It took up so much time. It took up so much energy. And obviously, as you're depleting and you're losing body fat, the training program gets harder because you've got less energy, because you are eating less, because we're trying to bring that body fat percentage down. And this cheat day, this huge looming cheat day, is still there. And that really broke me as a person, because I'd gone into this thing with low self-esteem, low confidence, just wanted to lose a little bit of body fat. One of the questions that somebody asked was, how does somebody win a bodybuilding show, and what do you have to do to win it? So you'd go on stage and do quarter turns. So you do a front one, a side one, a back one, and another side one. You then do a range of poses. There's different types. There's bikini, figure, trained, and then bodybuilding, which is like your big guys. And obviously it's different for men. You then have to do a routine. So your routine would be a 1.5-minute dance routine. Well, anybody who knows me knows that, well, ask Derek, I'm not a very good flirt. I'm definitely not provocative. I'm like bloody Dumbo the elephant prancing around the kitchen. And if you ask me to dance, it's a very aggressive 2-step. And me doing a routine was just awful. It was so bad. You're then judged on how you look, like how you look for the class that you're in. So are you lean enough? Are you too lean? Is there symmetry in your body? How full do your muscles look, etc., etc. So you're judged purely on aesthetics. So you're in your head, effectively, you could be in the best shape of your life, but you are never good enough, because there could always be somebody who's a little bit better than you. And even when you do get into the best shape of life, if you were ever I didn't win, if you were ever good enough to win, you still needed to do more to make it to the next competition, to be better. So you were constantly chasing that aesthetic look of perfection, that I guess perfection doesn't exist, right? So that was the actual bodybuilding side of it. So you are basically, there's a row of judges, there's points, and you're scored on that. I think that's how it's all done now. But that's how you would then effectively win. You'd get first, second, third. You'd then qualify, and everybody was chasing like the pro card, which would obviously mean that you could then compete internationally, the Arnold's, which is a really prestigious competition. And that was bodybuilding. There was a couple of other things I wanted to talk through around the subject, but I'm just going to skip back to some of the questions to make sure that I've covered some of those off. What brings the results? How would you explain the medal? And then somebody asked, how far did your obsession go with bodybuilding? My obsession with bodybuilding was not a healthy one. It was me being 9.5 stone, shredded with abs, pinching my fat in the mirror, going, I'm still fat. I'm not skinny enough. Like, I'm not lean enough. I'm never going to be ready. And me hating the lifestyle so much that, I mentioned this on a previous pod, I cried into my cod, asparagus and rice regularly whilst I ate it. It made me heave, and I still did it. I was still like, no, I need to do this. This is something I need to do. And I look back on that now and I just think, that is so unhealthy. Like, it was making me so miserable. And now, like I spoke about previous episode, do my goals align to my values? Well, at that point in my life, they didn't. And obviously it gave me this complex that I was never good enough. My body was never good enough. My relationship with food turned into a binge eating disorder, and some really, really dark times with that, like consuming like thousands and thousands of calories and then trying to eradicate them, and getting on into the gym in the morning with guilt and trying to like burn calories in the gym, burn the food off that I'd eaten because I felt so guilty. And then obviously I had the routine, the posing in front of people, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm actually a massive extrovert. Like, don't tell everybody this, but I quite like being center of attention. But like standing in stage was so uncomfortable for me. Dancing in stage was so uncomfortable to me. And when I bodybuilded, I felt like it was quite a catty, unsupportive environment. I felt like you go to a powerlifting competition, and my first powerlifting competition, I forgot my socks, I didn't have the right t-shirt, I didn't have this, and some amazing people lent me their stuff. That would never have happened at a bodybuilding comp that I went to. It was very much like you were all doing your own thing. Everybody was sizing up each other. It was just a really hostile place. Don't get me wrong, I've got some people on my social media who I have made friends with, and they are amazing women, but the majority I felt was really hostile. So that's kind of bodybuilding. My obsession with bodybuilding was hugely unhealthy. If anybody would like to bodybuild, my biggest piece of advice would be make sure that you have a really good relationship with food. As in, you don't have any disordered eating, you don't have any binge tendencies, you don't have any undereating tendencies. The second thing would be have an amazing relationship with yourself. Like, you've got to have worked on yourself so you know you are enough, and be prepared that you are going to be critiqued on all areas of your physique. The third bit of advice: you are going to work so hard, and you are going to have to sacrifice your entire life for your prep. Like, nothing comes in front of the prep. Like, you cannot go out and have drinks and a meal with friends. Like, you could, but you would have to drink. I went out once and was like drinking squash while my friends were out. I was going to house parties with my Tupperware tubs and eating from my Tupperware tubs when my friends are having fun. Like, you will sacrifice elements of your life, but if you are complete enough and you are mentally stable enough to do those things, amazing. But I would still say there's elements of bodybuilding that have effectively, well, they've made me the way I am now, but I've had to spend a lot of time working through those things to become a better person. So how did I transition from bodybuilding to powerlifting? So I was still very much in the gym and enjoying being in the gym. I'd switched my training a bit and was doing like a HIIT cardio session in the morning and then a weight session in the evening. So I was still training 6 days a week, twice a day. And over the course of the last 5 years, 5 years ago, I think it was probably around now, I wanted to get into something that was competitive again, but I didn't enjoy I didn't want to do bodybuilding again because it wasn't healthy for me to do that. So powerlifting was the other thing that I'd seen other people doing. I was like, oh, what's that? Like lifting some big ass lifts, I was like, I think at the time I was still able to bench 60 for a couple of reps. I had done some half rep squats at 100. I'd never deadlifted in my life, but I had some fun day out with some friends and we were like, oh, how much can you deadlift? And I deadlifted 137 kilos. Do not ever look at that video. It is the worst form ever, and I would probably tell my clients to put the bar down if I ever saw them lifting like that now. But we have to start somewhere. And actually, I'll tell you who will love this. Abby, I deadlifted like you did on your first day. I know you will appreciate that, but I started where you did as well. In terms of powerlifting, I then approached a local coach, Hayden, and he supported me through my first prep in powerlifting, which was ACE. He wrote my first proper training program since bodybuilding, and I followed that the whole way through. Powerlifting was totally different. It forced me to do a little bit less. I was still trying to do my HIIT sessions, but it forced me to do a little bit less until I got to my first competition. What do I love about powerlifting? I love the community of powerlifting. I touched on it earlier. I should probably say what powerlifting is for those of you that don't know. Powerlifting is your three main lifts: squat, bench, and deadlift. You perform one repetition of each lift and you get 3 goes. So you do one squat, first attempt, second squat, third squat, you'd have a little rest. Then you do bench, 1, 2, 3, deadlift, 1, 2, 3. You have to get one of each lift to receive a total, and you're trying to grow your total effectively. So that's what basic level powerlifting is. And it was super fun. I'd never trained to 1 reps before. I was always training at like bodybuilding training, which was like 8s, 10s, 12s, 15s, drop sets, supersets. And powerlifting was a totally different thing. It was about conserving energy, resting for performance, trying to get stronger. And the focus was no longer on how I looked. The focus was on how I was performing. And that was brilliant. That was really, really healthy for me because it allowed me to take the emotion out of it. And ironically, when I started training for strength, my body started changing. I always wanted like capped shoulders and firm legs, and I always wanted abs. I'm not genetically gifted for abs. Honestly, I've tried. It's not working for me. But as women, not all of us are. Like, we carry our fat around this area of our body and it's protecting our reproductive system. So most women genetically don't actually have the capacity to get abs easily. Like, that's just one thing I want to say. I mean, that's my excuse anyway. So I did my first powerlifting comp. I actually then did a strongman comp. Powerlifting's amazing. I keep saying that. Powerlifting. Like, Jesus Christ, who's a powerlifter in the room? Powerlifting is great. Like, the community of people, the amount of people and friends I've met who've helped me in my journey along the way. You can turn up at a competition and everybody is shouting and cheering for the other people. Everybody wants everybody else to do well. I've never encountered a bad competition in powerlifting, and I've coached at some competitions and competed at others. It is such a good vibe and full of good energy, and everybody is your biggest fan. When I used to train in gyms, the community of people within powerlifting was absolutely epic. And just training to become stronger, my body changed. I went from being like, training 12 times a week to now I only train 3 days a week. That's it, 3 days a week. And I don't feel like I'm getting stronger at the minute, but I am getting stronger at the moment. But it's just such an enjoyable experience. Training for strength and actually working towards growing muscle and getting stronger and feeling better in day-to-day life. I've said this a couple of times, but I solidly believe that if you are somebody who suffers in confidence and you start to get yourself in the gym and strength train, it will really help you grow in confidence because you become more capable, you become more empowered, your body begins to change in ways that you weren't expecting. You have this new set of skills that you're using in the gym. You might be like lucky enough to meet people in the gym, and that is what the community does through going to the gym. So powerlifting, where am I at now? I am currently, I've just started my equipped prep. So equipped powerlifting is where you wear a squat suit, bench shirt, deadlift suit, and you wear knee wraps for squatting. And I now have switched to equipped, which I am really, really enjoying. It's a totally different experience. It hurts like hell sometimes, especially when I'm due on or around ovulation. It's a really bad time, but it's it's learning a new skill. Like powerlifting is your three main disciplines, just repeated. So actually doing something different is really, really enjoyable. So yeah, like I'm going to shout this out, but if anybody wanted to get into powerlifting or has any powerlifting advice, then please literally ask me anything, because I am powerlifting's biggest fan. I'm going to finish on like maybe one or two more questions, and then I am going to close. So, what got you from bodybuilding to powerlifting? I've already done that. So I want to finish on one question that I think is really, really relevant to what I've been speaking about. So Artie actually asked, what does healthy and unhealthy exercise look like? Remember, again, this is opinion based. Healthy exercise for me is when you are doing it because you enjoy it. You are doing it because it fulfills you. You are doing it because it aligns to your goal. Unhealthy exercise for me is somebody who is doing it because it's an unhealthy obsession. So there's obviously good obsessions and there's also bad obsessions, but it's an unhealthy obsession. You feel guilty when you don't go to the gym. You go to the gym because you want to burn off what you ate last night. You go to the gym because you feel guilty about the drinks that you had. I personally would class that as unhealthy exercise. Unhealthy exercise is also if you're not taking recovery. Like your body needs recovery to grow, recover, and become better. And that for me is really, really unhealthy. I'm going to finish there because these shorter episodes, when I waffle on about myself, they feel a bit weird. But please send me over any questions that you've got for any future episodes, any topics that you want me to talk about. You have been listening to Giggles and Gains, and have an amazing day. Thank you for listening.